Welcome to Betrayal Affairs. In today's video, you're about to hear a story that doesn't begin with fireworks or dramatic confrontations. Instead, it starts in the quietest of places, on a phone screen. A few words that could be brushed off as harmless, the kind of lines you might skim past if you weren't paying attention. But like so many stories of betrayal, temptation, and secrets, what looks small in the beginning grows into something far larger, something no one involved could have predicted. It all began with a smile. Not one worn on a face, but one hidden in a text. And behind that smile, a string of conversations that slowly blurred the lines of what was innocent and what wasn't. Words stretched longer than they needed to be, compliments that lingered in memory, emojis chosen with a little too much intention. It was the kind of communication that, at first glance, could be dismissed as harmless friendliness. But the truth was there if you knew how to read between the lines. I did. And that's when curiosity planted its seed. When he came home that night, I noticed him more carefully than usual. The way he loosened his tie, dropped his bag by the door, and exhaled like the day had drained him. I knew his routines by heart, but that evening, I studied them differently. His eyes softened when he looked at me, unaware of what I'd already seen. His smile carried no weight of guilt, no nervous edge. To him, it was just another night. But for me, it wasn't. I didn't confront him immediately. I never believed in blunt accusations, not when observation can tell you far more. Instead, I let the silence linger, let my thoughts swirl quietly beneath my calm exterior. I watched him, memorizing the small details, how he checked his phone without urgency, how he set it face down on the counter, how he seemed almost careless about it. If there was something to hide, he wasn't wearing it. Not yet. Later, when he drifted into sleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, hearing the echo of those words from Sophie, the woman who worked alongside him. "You always make my day better." Simple enough, yet far too heavy with suggestion. And his reply? Not reciprocation, but not rejection either. He left the door open for her. He left her words lingering in the air between them. That was enough. I wasn't jealous, not exactly. Jealousy is quick, sharp, consuming. What I felt was slower, more dangerous. It was curiosity mixed with something else, an instinct that told me there was a story unfolding just out of sight, and I wanted to be the one to uncover it. The next day, as he left early for a client meeting, I stared at his phone on the counter before he picked it up. Sophie's name blinked in my thoughts like a warning light. I could imagine her at the office, leaning a little too close, laughing a little too long, testing boundaries she knew weren't hers to cross. So I made a decision. I messaged her. My fingers hovered for a moment before typing something deceptively simple. "Hey. Are you free this afternoon?" Her reply came quickly, as though she'd been waiting for an invitation she couldn't predict. Sure. Is everything okay?" "Totally." "Bring coffee," I wrote back, my words sharper in tone than hers, yet laced with calm. Half an hour later, there was a knock at my door. She stood there, holding 2 cups, her expression caught somewhere between politeness and nerves. Sophie was younger than me, though not by much. She had that carefully curated look people wear when they're still trying to prove themselves, hair too neat, smile too practiced, posture too stiff. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." I smiled, letting her in. Her eyes scanned the room as though searching for clues about why I'd asked her here. She set the cups down on the table, her hands a little too careful, her movements betraying her unease. "You're prettier than I remembered," I said casually, watching how she reacted. She blinked, caught off guard. "Oh. Thanks." I didn't let the silence stretch too long. "I get it," I said simply. "Get what?" she asked, her brows knitting together. "The texts." Her body stiffened, her smile faltered. I'm not mad," I interrupted smoothly, keeping my tone even. Confusion painted her expression, and that was exactly where I wanted her, off balance, uncertain. "It's the way you talk to him," I continued. "The compliments. The emojis. The little remarks that linger longer than they should. You're not just being friendly, Sophie. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I stepped closer, my voice steady. If you're going to flirt with him, you should do it properly. Her brows pulled tighter, a flicker of both shock and something else crossing her features. What does that mean? It means, I said slowly, I want to make you a proposition. From that moment, everything shifted. Sophie froze, her eyes darting, her breath uneven. She didn't know whether to defend herself, to apologize, or to lean into whatever this was becoming. I could see her mind working, replaying every message she'd sent, every emoji, every compliment. She realized I'd seen through all of it. And then, when the front door opened later that day, when his footsteps echoed through the hallway and climbed the stairs, Sophie's eyes went wide with panic. Relax, I told her with a calm smile. This part isn't about me. It's about him. He entered the room, and the air shifted. His gaze flicked between me and Sophie, confusion spilling across his features. It wasn't anger, not immediately. It was shock. Disbelief. And that disbelief was exactly what I wanted. Because in that moment, I wasn't just confronting him with Sophie's presence. I was holding up a mirror to everything he'd ignored, the blurred lines, the subtle encouragement, the small betrayals he thought were too insignificant to matter. The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. Sit, I said calmly. He did. What unfolded in the hours that followed wasn't chaos. It wasn't shouting or denial. It was something quieter, something sharper. A reckoning. Questions hung in the air like smoke. Why didn't you stop her? Why didn't you draw the line? Why did you let it get this far? And as he stammered, as Sophie fidgeted with the sleeve of her shirt, I realized something. Neither of them had expected me to take control of the narrative. They thought the story would unravel in whispers and secrets, in hidden texts and stolen moments. They never expected me to bring it into the open. That's the thing about betrayal. It thrives in the shadows, in the unspoken, in the space between just friends, and something more. But the moment you drag it into the light, it changes. It loses its comfort. The rest of that evening played out like a test. Every glance, every hesitation, every half-truth spoken aloud revealed more than either of them wanted to admit. And I made sure neither of them forgot what it felt like to be caught in the storm they created. Later, when Sophie left, the silence between me and him was louder than words. He looked at me, his expression torn between shame and disbelief. That, he whispered, was unbelievable. I smiled faintly. That's what you get for being such a good husband. He didn't laugh. He didn't argue. He just stared, as though trying to understand whether what had just happened was a punishment, a warning, or something else entirely. And that's the thing, betrayal doesn't always end in endings. Sometimes, it lingers in the air like smoke, reshaping everything around it. Now let me ask you this, if you discovered a thread of messages like that, subtle but undeniable, would you confront them immediately? Would you test them? Or would you wait and watch to see just how far they'd let it go? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. And if this story held you until the very end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because here at Betrayal Affairs, the stories don't just end when the words stop. They stay with you, lingering, reminding you that temptation and secrets are never as far away as we'd like to believe.